Hey guys, and welcome back to another fast-paced e-bike review video. This one on the Fucare Taurus. Not sure how you say that. It's just like a full-size adventure mountain bike. 26-inch wheels, big 4-inch wide fat tires. So I unboxed this last night and it came very well packaged. Didn't find any damage on it at all, except for this one little scrape here that I don't know if I did that or not. So we'll go over a few details, give you build tips, and then we're going to go ride this along the Lehigh River up near Northampton to Palmerton. Never been on the trail, so it should be fun. Now they advertise this bike to have a 400-pound payload. It's got a 750-watt hub motor powered by a 48-volt 25-amp-hour battery, which I did fully charge last night with the included charger that outputs 4.5 amps. Here's a glance at some of the other components that come bagged up in the box. You got the clamp for the bars up here, which is nice it's not on there, because these always, the bolts will rattle out in the packages and then you end up losing. That's kind of nice that they packaged it separately. Got the owner's manual, which I'll go over at the end, some reflectors, touch-up paint, a bike lock with a little holder bracket, aluminum pedals. I like that this bike comes with full fenders. It's got hydraulic front forks with adjustable preload on the left and a lockout on the right. You got hydraulic disc brakes on the front and rear. Pretty beefy looking calipers with fairly thick rotors. They look to be about 3 millimeter thick. They say the top speed is restricted at 28 mile an hour, but can be unlocked up to 32 miles an hour. You'll see it's got these mounts up on the head in case you want to put accessories there. I like that it comes with a headlight and tail light built into the bike. Seat seems pretty good quality. So let's slap this together and get riding now. Oh, I'm sorry, 8-speed Shimano cassette, pretty standard. Maybe missing a couple things. I'm sure you guys noticed this beefy looking frame. Never seen one quite like that. We'll start by installing the pedals. They're marked left and right, left side, lefty tighty, just like it shows on the sticker, which I'll go ahead and take off. Well, that's one of those stickers that leaves a bunch of stuff on there, but that's okay. Good and tight on those. We can drop our bars into place, making sure the cables aren't all twisted up. Install the clamp, and the screws already have some Loctite on them. Make sure you leave even gaps on the front and top of the clamp. Tighten these down in a cross pattern, and I always, I got them centered, but we'll do a final adjustment later, snug them down at that point. To install the front wheel, you see it's just got a nut on each side. I spun those all the way out. Make sure you got even threads exposed and that the washer and nut are going to go on the outside of the forks. So loosen and remove this dummy axle, pop out the brake pad separator, and we can drop this into place. Or, flip the bike upside down if you want to do that. Just make sure the pads are over top the rotor and the wheel is fully inserted into the forks, then tighten down both sides. With those both good and tight, I'm going to pump up the brakes right now. They feel tight. Let's lift this. You got it straight and true. Occasionally you could end up with a bent rotor, or you might have to make adjustments on the caliper if it's rubbing. Here's a glance at the front fender bolted on. I went ahead and put the light bracket behind there, and then followed by the fender and the nut. So can do adjustments on that later if need be. The rear fender has a mounting point here, there, and originally I tried putting it up here, but that brought the fender way too close. So that's gonna get mounted down yonder. We can now drop this battery in. Here's a look at the charge port that goes on the right side. You can charge it in the bike or out. Switch to turn the battery on. And over here, a battery indicator, which I was pressing this before. It's a little tough. You'd have to have good fingernails or press that. And there you go. It's showing 4 bars. So to drop it in the frame, it does have instructions. It's in the unlock position right now. There's a little pin that drops out when we lock it. So a little bit of a tight squeeze through the frame. Once it's lined up properly, you can just slide it in and take your key, put that to the lock position, and it's locked from bouncing out. The keys were up on the bar here originally out of the package. And there's a look at the final completed bike. I did leave the front reflector off since there's not a great place for that. It's kind of on an angle. And that lock, I have a better one I'll bring with me, but if you want, you can slide that on the seat post. I did put the rear reflector on, and that's the seat in its highest position right now. The bars are not adjustable. They recommend this bike for anyone from 5'4" to 6'7". I'm 6'3", 180 pounds. Let's see how I fit. Step over real easy. That's nice, feels good, all right. And yeah, I could probably lower that seat a little bit, but I'm getting I mean, I'm getting a nice pedal stroke at that height. So yeah, I think I'd like the bars a touch higher. You could always get a different headstock on there, but that one's not adjustable. So I'll bring this down a touch like that. And yeah, that feels pretty good to me. At this point, always a great idea to go over every fastener on the bike, make sure nothing was left loose. The tires, I filled them up to 15 psi. They recommend 5 to 15 for running, but a max of 30 psi. And otherwise, I guess let's hit the road and I'll see you up there. We are almost there, crossing over to Lehigh now. If you look just south, there is the old Bethlehem steel plant down there. The steel stacks, really cool event center now. All right, trip starts now. We're crossing Lehigh in Northampton, about to hit the DNL to fire this up. You long press. It does have a vibration built into the grip there when you start it. So we're at 0.1 miles, basically 0. You can flip through, you got the trip, odometer, max, and average speed. We're on PAS 0 right now. We got 5 bars on the battery. Probably can't see that too well. So if we accelerate on 0, nothing. We run this through the gears real quick, see how that feels. If there's any adjustments needed on the derailleur. There's number 1. Pedal's real smooth, that's 2. Yeah, this bridge looks like it needs a little work. All right, goes through all 8 gears, no problem. Let's drop it on PAS 1 now. Well, I suppose let's get on the trail. I'm pedaling right along. We'll go into speed 1. See what that brings us up to, 10 mile an hour. See if I stop pedaling and hit the throttle. Same thing, limited at 10 mile an hour on speed 1. Speed 2, 14 mile an hour. Speed 3, 22 mile an hour. Speed 4, 27 mile an hour. And speed 5, 28 mile an hour, which is showing 26 on GPS. If you flip it up one more, it'll actually go to PAS 0 and you have to cycle all the way back up. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay with the wind noise. You got a nice bell, and so far I'm liking the ride. Now within the settings, you can usually adjust the power assist. Say you think it's too much in speed 3 for you, you can dial that back a little bit to a lower percentage. On this ride, I'm going to keep it 100% power on speed 5. I'll be doing a little bit of pedaling, which I did want to show you in the top gear doing 28. I can still have a good amount of pedal authority. If I want to kick my own power into there and get a good workout, I can. A lot of bikes, you can't do that. So this is geared really nice from the factory. As you can see, riding no hands on this. It's a breeze, good geometry. I shake back and forth. The bar doesn't go into a shimmy sham. I just hit some weird bump there and it didn't go anywhere. Very stable. Something else I want to note is when you're pedaling along on speed 5, here's how long it takes for the motor to kick in. You start rotating and then it kicks in very abruptly. It's either on or off. When you stop pedaling, it seems to shut off fairly quick. Let's go see the river. However, again, on most of these bikes, that's adjustable too. With the torque sensor bikes, you get usually a much more smooth engagement. It's a very big rafting river up here. A lot of people like to enjoy that. Well, I suppose jet boats too, but I'm not sure. I've never really seen one up on here, mostly rafts. Here goes full acceleration on number 3. Had a little tire spin there for a second. No pedaling, motoring right up this hill. Of course, all these kinds of things are going to affect our range, which I gotta say the acceleration on this for a 750 watt is pretty strong. And when bikes have softer acceleration, generally you see a little bit better range. But here goes the full acceleration off the line. She's ripping. There's 10. I've just let this play out so you guys can see the real time up to top speed without pedaling. Of course, if you're pedaling, you know, you're going to get up there quicker. And there you go, there's 28. Oh, pretty good. So guys might have noticed in a lot of my e-bike videos, we're usually on a path very similar to this, but there's a canal next to it, and that's the Delaware Canal. But this is actually part of that trail, the DNL trail. This goes all the way up to Wilkes-Barre, where they would get coal and transport it down. This used to be a railroad track. There's no canal, as you can see, but they'd bring it to Bethlehem Steel and I guess Easton, that whole area, and then also transport it the 60 miles from Easton down to Bristol, Pennsylvania. I've ridden that whole stretch on a regular pedal bike back in the day. Really fun, awesome ride. I don't know about fun, but super scenic and nice and smooth, and just a gradual slope, just like this. I mean, being a railroad bed, there's no big hills here. We're just climbing real steady. Welcome to Slatington, a trail-friendly community. Stopped in this little spot for a quick slice, and now we're back on the trail. How convenient is that? It's right next to it. But right now we're on the dark side of Blue Mountain, and the sun's going down, but we're getting ready to go through the Lehigh Gap. Should be sunny on the other side. Actually might be taking us up top of here too, depending on how the range looks after we go through the gap. Here's a better look at the Lehigh Gap. And see where the trail is, and the train used to run along there. And there's actually train tracks on the other side, it looks like, too. Hard to tell from here, but like I was saying, on this side of the mountain, much sunnier. But we're gonna try to go up top, right there where those radio towers are. And there is a road that leads up there. So let's get going back down the path. There's gonna be a road that leads along this mountain. Making a left on this road, it is steep. So this is all going to be really affecting our range a lot, but it's motoring up no problem. I think I'll help it out a touch. And this rides us up along the dark side of the mountain, where then there'll be, like I said, a road going up, service road. I mean, if I do full motor up this, just to give you an idea how steep it is, we're losing momentum down at 12 mile an hour. But if you hold it pinned and you give it some pedaling, no problem. Still showing 4 bars, we're at 15 miles, so that's looking promising. Because we'll have to make it back to the truck later, battery or no battery. Man, my ears are popping. We've made it to the access trail, and if you thought that was steep before, this is much steeper. This is when having an e-bike is just awesome, because you can still get a great workout helping the motor up the hill, but be holding a good pace and not be just completely smoked. Like, I'm standing up, pedaling, assisting, and whew, look how much you're slowing down. Like, if you were pedaling up this with no motor, I don't care how in shape you are getting beat up. Like right now, I'm full power standing on my legs, I'm out of breath, and we're barely, I got downshift, we're barely holding it together on this hill on speed 5. So I've taken one other bike up this hill, and it struggled just as much. This is when having a mid-drive really comes into play. I mean, because you can downshift it, and the motor's able to take advantage of that. Right now, the hub motor is just struggling at this incline with slow speed. And once it starts to flatten out a little bit, the speed picks right back up. But I'm gonna say hill climbability, you know, mediocre on this bike. And then look, we hit this one, and we're still showing the 3 bars, and it's, unless you're pedaling, it's hard to keep pace up it. There's the radio towers we saw from down low, and the beautiful warm sun. This is a stunning spot up here. Last time I was here, it was nice down below, but then snow up top. Looking back down at the Lehigh River. The trail's on our side of it right now. So where we were turned around was right at the gap. It's a pretty nice view up here. It's turning back toward the gap and the river. And if we look down, we'll see the turnpike tunnel there. And let's cross over. See the dark side. Ooh, what was that? Bird hit me? Some pretty good gusts coming over the mountain because I'm losing speed quite a bit. And there we go, there's the dark side. We were actually looking at a house here recently too, but it just property wasn't set up right. But it was neat, it backed up to this mountain in the backyard, and that's looking down the ridge line of the mountain toward the gap. Yeah, stunningly beautiful. Almost a shame to not stay up here for the sunset, but we gotta get going. A lot of ground to cover. Now to turn your lights on, it's one press on that, it dims the screen. There's a glance at the headlight, pretty darn bright. And that's what the taillight looks like. If you hit the brakes, it just gets brighter. And I didn't show you before, but it does have the walking feature. So if you're trying to push it up something steep, you can hold this minus. And the grip has a vibrator in there, starts vibrating. And then it goes into like a slow walking mode to help you push it up steep stuff without spinning the tires. Of course, you could always just grab the throttle too, and it's just more likely to take off on you. We're actually showing 4 bars now. 17.3 miles. It's a good time to mention one feature that I think these e-bikes should have is regenerative braking. Like it's got the motor there for it, so it's just an extra controller really. I mean, I'm not a genius with these, but my electric skateboard, that's the only way it brakes, and it works very, very well. So going down this steep slope, we'd be able to recharge the battery quite a bit. So maybe something we'll see in the future. Going down this, the suspension feels real good. I might have to tighten those forks down a touch. There's that steep part we were going up before, just to show you how steep it really is. We're doing 32, 30, 34, 37, 30, 40 miles an hour. Now, I'm gonna slow it down now in case you have a brake failure before this stop sign though. We'll make a right and get back on the canal. Kind of cool to think about that where my truck's parked, like an hour and 20-minute drive home. But this trail that we're on right now, we could take this all the way to my town, right to my backyard basically. It's pretty cool. I really love riding any of these nature trails at dusk or into the evening and weekdays, because there's just nobody here. You can keep her pinned at 28 miles an hour, cruising, making good miles. Because of course, if there's anybody walking or riding, I shut the power off, I pedal past them, you know. So there was a lot of that on the way coming up here, a lot of braking, and now we're just smooth sailing. I will say I'm not a big fan of the taillight placement, because if the vehicle's coming on this side of you, I mean, they're likely to not be able to see it depending on where the car's located. Yeah, you can see it through the spokes, but not right here. You get that blind spot. Although it's fairly bright, and plenty bright when you hit that brake. So I reset this GPS trip at 20 miles. We're now at 30 indicated, 2 bars left, and you see on GPS 9.2 miles. Now that's its accuracy. Now we're getting into nightfall. Here's a good look at the headlight difference. It's without, and then it is with. It's nice it's on the fork, so as we turn, it goes where we're going. And there we are. Just got the blinking battery. 38 miles even. We have shut off, no power. Now that's pretty decent range considering all of the massive hills we went up and a lot of braking today. So you could easily get, I'm sure, 20, 30, 40 more miles than that, even if you weren't pedaling that hard. But if you pedal and you're not braking the whole time, I mean, every time you're running these brakes, all that heat, you're just losing so much range. But if we shut this down, I'm sure we'll have enough, because we still got maybe a mile or 2 left to get back to my truck. Shut it down, restart it, and we're showing 1 bar again. So I'll just I'll run this on speed 2. Let's see how far it goes on speed 2. And I've made it back to the truck, parked in front of this jewelry store. We got some good lightings to do an outro. 40.4 miles. Kept it on speed 1 the whole way. It did shut off once, but I turned it back on and it kept on going. You know, overall, I'm gonna give a giant thumbs up on this bike. I really enjoyed the way that it rode. I love the fenders. The gearing on it, being able to do 28 mile an hour and still have plenty of pedal authority to get that range up, possibly double of what we got. I mean, I don't know. This is a good adventure bike, and it looks like they do probably sell some accessories for it, since it has the bolt holes here and, again, the rack up there. I'm a huge fan of this frame design. I feel like you could really build onto this and expand out with bags. You got plenty of storage space. Say you want to bring another battery, cram it right in here, whatever. I mean, dual batteries on this would just be the cat's meow. Only downside would be the fact that it's not foldable and it is a big bike, but you know, you can't have it all with these e-bikes. I mean, if you want a good adventure bike with 26-inch wheels, this thing is a super cushy ride, had great range, ton of power. The seat on it, very firm, but it was comfortable for me. I had no issues at all there. You guys are always asking me what's my favorite bike, There's no single one, they all have trade-offs. But this one did really deliver overall, and I was happy with the 40-mile range based on the way that we were riding. So all that being said, I want to thank you guys very much for tuning into this video. Hopefully you enjoy the adventure style stuff. And I did want to pan over and say a shout out to a Northampton hometown hero who passed away in 2015. Foster Longenbach, if I'm saying that right. He was a staff sergeant, U.S. Army. And he was actually the founder of this here Foster Jewelers. Owned it from 1947 to 1993. And this town honors its hometown heroes all down the main street. And like usual, at the end of these videos, I like to flip through the owner's manual so you guys can pause and read any of these pages. That way, in case you can't find it online or something like that. Try to go quick through here, so you guys gotta be quick with the pause button. Inside the box. All pretty basic stuff so far. Assembly. I should probably read this before I do the assembly sometimes, you know. Who knows if I did everything by the book. What a fun ride that was. I actually hope to do the entire stretch of that trail. It's about, I think it's like 140 or 160 miles or so. Wilkes-Barre to Bristol. Real exciting stuff. I know. All right. Oh, there you go. Hey, Gus. Do you want an apple? It's a ball. You've never had one before. All right. Go get the ball. He's starting to get it. What'd you throw him? Popcorn? Great.